Welcome to the show. I'm Sherry Schreiner. A couple things I want to talk about. You know, I've been doing Monday nights with Sherry Schreiner for 13 years and have just now moved to the daytime. See how this goes. I'm going to be doing, instead of Monday night with Sherry Schreiner, it's going to be Blacklisted News and Bible Prophecy Watch. And so that's what I'm going to be giving you about the news behind the news. And also, as usual, keeping my eyes on Bible prophecy and what's going on and how that relates to all of us who are prophecy students. And so it's been a busy week, and I had one of those nights again last night. You ever just get blasted out of bed with the heat wave? It's like you're sleeping and you're snoozing and you're dreaming about bunnies and kittens, and all of a sudden, boom, you fry. You start getting really hot. You're getting pummeled by satellite tech. So, yeah, one of those days. Also, when you're sitting at your desk, do you ever notice, like, you get alerted to touch the top of your head for some reason, and your head feels like it's blistering hot, like the sun is directly above your head, but you're sitting in your office? They blast their satellite tech at you. And they can go right through your ceilings, right through your homes, right through any building you're at. I've had tech blast me right through car windows. So it's always a fight. You know, they're always at you with something. You know, I was at it with Chinese last week. I was at it with them last night. It just never ends with the Chinese. They kind of picked up because everybody else has gotten the memo. Leave me alone. And now the Chinese want to check me out. You know, that's basically what it is. And so I'm getting really tired of the Chinese. So what's in the news? You know, Trump has accepted the resignation of General Michael Flynn. And so I never liked Flynn. He's a snake in the grass. And good to see him gone. And good to see Trump actually appoint somebody in there that looks human. He looks like a nice guy. He looks human. He's not the status quo core of Obama appointees. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that went along with the status quo of the military. So I think he might be pretty good for our country. Someone who won't be on, you wouldn't expect to see on the Pizzagate list. Now, you could tell the whole thing with General Flynn was a lie. When you start getting the whole media overkill on why he resigned. I mean, that was such crap. I don't know anybody with 2 cents that would even touch it. It was hogwash, talking about how he was talking to a Russian ambassador or whatever. It was just a crack. And you knew it was a crack because when they want to overkill something and really push a lie as truth, they overkill it totally. They oversell it. And so every libtard station on TV is talking about Flynn and the Russians. I'm so sick of hearing about the Russians I could scream. The Russians did it, the Russians did it, the Russians did it. Flynn in trouble with the Russians. So you knew it was all garbage. Especially, you know, usually when they really oversell, they'll overkill something, which is a total lie. They'll bring on the experts, bring on the X's, just to overkill it. And that's what they were doing with the whole Flynn Russian thing. Because the real story is he has his hands dirty. And President Trump doesn't need it in his lap. You know, he's in the inner circle of the president. And when you start pulling in names and investigations to Pizzagate, you don't want it leading to your inner circle. Trump's already going to have problems with Pence. And so it's going to be interesting to see how far this Pizzagate actually goes, how far they're going to let it, because right now it's looking like a whole Trump scenario here, a JFK scenario. Now, I've got some of the best sources on the planet, folks. You can't argue with my sources. And there is an assassination attempt on President Trump on April 15th. And it's going to involve multiple bomb sites and multiple inside shooters. This sounds like a military operation. I mean, when you look at JF Kennedy, it was Lyndon Johnson working with George Bush Sr., who was the CIA director. Well, now you've got the two men with the most to hide, Michael Pence as vice president, and Mad Dog Mattis as chief of whatever at the Pentagon, chief of the child trafficking at the Pentagon. And they're going to go after Trump, so Trump needs to watch his back. Trump needs to watch his back. He's got dogs in the cat house. He's not safe. And so what he needs to do is start weeding through his inner circle and getting rid of the diehard lizards. And if you look at the picture of General Mad Dog Mattis, he doesn't even look human. He looks like he's ready to just take a chunk out of somebody's leg or arm. He looks like a cannibal. Typical lizard. And we know how horrid Mike Pence is involved with the trafficking in Indiana. He had Tory Smith killed. And so we think he did. But hey, Tory was fine 2 weeks, and 2 weeks later he was so full of radiation he was falling over dead. And so I liked Tory. If you haven't seen his YouTube channel, go to Tory Smith. He reveals a lot, and he gives out a lot of names on the Indiana child trafficking. People have issue with his New Age beliefs. I really don't care what somebody believes when they're spewing out truth. Because he had a lot of truth. And if you read my book, Interview with the Devil, when I asked Lucifer about Tory Smith, he said the same thing I'd been saying, and that was Tory was stood up for disclosure. He was stood up to disclose the child trafficking in this country. He didn't last a year. He started in November of 2015, and they killed him in July of 2016. But he got a lot out, and he woke a lot of people up. And so I just did an interview, or I just did a video about some of his information, putting human meat in our food supply, and also about Mike Pence. And so I'm telling you, he's a dog. You guys got to watch out. I know a lot of you Christians are so far asleep you'd need a forklift to pull your head out of the sand. But a snake's a snake. And so if you love, I know you love Trump, but it's going to be Pence who stabs him in the back. So we'll have to sit and wait and watch what happens. I know when I released that info yesterday, about an hour after I did, I hear this scream. And excuse the profanity, but I hear this, "Damn it, how did she know?" And it was a scream, somebody very, very angry. So I was wondering, was that Mattis? He's the one planning this stuff. Multiple bomb sites, which tells me they're probably going to target all the areas they're going to have on Trump's schedule for that day. And so probably New York, Florida, and D.C. Or they might schedule him to go give a speech somewhere. He needs to watch his back and not go anywhere that day. Because multiple bomb sites, which means if they don't get him at one, they'll get him at another. And shooters inside, which means his own people that are going to turn on him, the people he trusts. And that's April 15th, folks. It's going to be interesting. So looking at some of this other stuff, and I just write down notes throughout the week, and the Father wanted me to get out that information on Cargill, which is one of the largest meat suppliers in the country and outside the country, and they have processing plants They have 2 of them in Texas, 1 in California, and the main headquarters is in Minnesota. And, you know, the story about McDonald's in Oklahoma keeps circulating, but I'm telling you what, that stuff has truth to it. It has truth to it. I remember a long time ago, I don't know if this woman contacted me or what, but she sat outside this warehouse in Oklahoma and was watching them unload off these trucks, which she said looked like human bodies, so it's pretty crazy. And it's not like they don't pull them in. So they get rid of them. That's how they get rid of them. Then you have Rabbi Finkelstein admitting to James Wickstrom, have that on the video, about how they grind up the children, hundreds of thousands a year, and McDonald's is one of their best customers. And you can even go to Snopes and they'll say that's fake, but the interview is right there all over the YouTube. I mean, he's on the phone with James Wickstrom giving this interview. So, folks, put 2 and 2 together. You're being warned. I mean, you always want to know, the Bible always talks about eating food sacrificed to idols. And you see it all the time, and you're thinking, well, I'm not eating food sacrificed to idols. Well, put it into today's perspective. Because all these kids and humans that are sacrificed and being ground up into McDonald's Big Macs, all of them are victims of sacrificial, satanic sacrifices. All the kids today being brought in, $100 million a week the Pentagon spends on child trafficking. And they're raped and they're murdered. Those are sacrifices to Satan. That's food sacrificed to idols. And then you have the Muslims. They're halal meat because they bless all that to Satan, to Allah. That's food sacrificed to idols. You shouldn't ever touch halal meat. Halal is just a takeoff his name, halayal. They don't even hide it. They just call it halal meat. Food sacrificed to idols. People are eating humans in our country. It's disgusting. And they're taking baby aborted fetuses and putting it in your sodas. Now, if you've noticed, especially I have noticed the last 2 or 3 years, because I can no longer even drink soda, it's got that different taste to it. And you're thinking, when did they change the recipe to this? Well, they all have. They all started adding aborted fetus material to the soda drinks. They're getting us at every angle, folks. Every angle. So, Pizzagate. Still waiting for that one. They're throwing us crumbs. Have you noticed the crumbs? I mean, you keep waiting. Okay, when's the bomb going to drop? When's the bomb going to drop? When are you going to start going after the big guys? You know, they gave us just some bottom feeders in California, and then a couple of adoption agencies, really. Do you really think CPS, because we all know they're rogue, CPS has been satanic for a long time in every state. The whole goal is to take kids, separate kids from their families, and then they lose them in the system. They've been snakes forever. But they don't produce hundreds of thousands of kids a year. And neither does the little bottom feeders in California that they arrested. What produces 100,000 kids a year is the Pentagon. Now, when they start going after the Air Force and the Navy and shutting down child trafficking, then you'll know we're getting someplace in Pizzagate. Because I'll tell you what, all the politicians in D.C. might be over their eyebrows in Pizzagate and guilty as heck and have dirty hands on it. Well, let's cut down the suppliers first, huh? Let's shut down the suppliers. It's like going after the drug addicts and letting the suppliers go free. So you shut down the Air Force, AFRICOM, NORTHCOM, SOUTHCOM. The Navy. Ask yourself why we have 23 military bases in Alaska. All involve child trafficking, folks, so they can't, out of sight, out of mind. They have underground bases there. They bring the kids in from boats. They shuffle them in. They've got bases inside mountains. I mean, come on, folks. This whole thing just has to be stopped. You can go after your bottom feeders in California all you want to, but I'm going to be sitting here screaming about the Pentagon until something's done, because that's where the real action is. You don't get this much accomplished without the military and government in cahoots. Same thing with drugs. Same thing with the drugs. I mean, I was told back when Biden was vice president that the job of the vice president was to regulate the drug running in the country. Not what you think, folks. This ain't Hollywood. This isn't Hollywood government. They always look so professional and presidential on TV. You have no idea what the Obama White House looked like. Now, I have no idea what the Trump White House looks like, but I can tell you about the Obama White House. I mean, I was just asking the Father the other night. Okay, I was sitting here, I was bored, and I'm like, okay, Father, show me what Obama's doing tonight. You know what he showed me? He was at a My Lab with about 100 other men. And here, I'll describe it for you. It's underground somewhere because there's no windows. And there was a large room and 100 men all milling around this room. And then they all back up and they all stand around the edges of the walls. And soon you see all these kids walking in single file. And they walk to the center of the room. And they don't know what's going on, because they see all these men standing around the room on the perimeter by the walls. And then all at once, all of the men jump out of the wall, up from being in front of the walls, and they start attacking the children. They're like animals. It was like an animal fest. And they're taking all these little girls and little boys, and they're slamming them to the ground, and they're raping them. And this is typical status quo for almost every night of the week around this country. There's 44 My Lab bases, what they call My Labs, which is what this kind of place is. It's a huge room where they bring the kids in, and they get raped and killed by the men. There was another My Lab the Father showed me several months ago, and this one was a smaller room, but it had tables in it. It had like gurneys in it. And they had them lined up. And they would bring in people a couple at a time. I saw a particular girl and a particular boy. The girl was about 17, and the boy was about 8. I've never seen a man. I've always seen kids. It's like, why don't these guys fight back? Well, these kids are 8 years old. They're 8 and 10. Some of the girls are a little bit older, but all the boys I've seen are very young. And they bring them in and they just rape them on these tables. Or they have the empty room out so they can just jump on, ambush, and attack. And what was really bad about that one was some of these men were just shifting right into reptilians. People don't think you're crazy because you're telling you, hey, that guy's not even a human, he's a lizard. It's all true, folks. But when I saw Saturday night, these men, reptilians, were coming right out, and they were shifting right into reptilians. It was nasty. And the kids are screaming, and they're running everywhere, and they're outnumbered. 2 to 3 men per kid. They're not going anywhere. So how do all these kids get access to these My Labs? Well, that would be your Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. And your CIA. The deep state that protects all this stuff. The deep state runs it. The shadow government. Do I think Obama knows about it? No, I don't think he knows a half about it. He's probably aware. I'm sure he's heard of Pizzagate by now. They're throwing you crumbs. Oh, look, there was a cement room under the pizza parlor, and supposedly kids were attacked there. Really? You know why the walls and the ceiling and the floor are all cement? So they could just take a hose and wash it down. Because when these men who are animals like John Podesta, when they start raping and attacking children, they literally rip their limbs off of them. That's how vicious they are, because they're lizards. They shift into their lizard form, and they're so raging of bloodlust, they just start ripping limbs off these kids. Now, I'm not saying Podesta does. I'm just saying men like him. I wouldn't doubt it. But I haven't seen it with my own eyes. not for that stuff. But this stuff goes on. And that's why I want to get this stopped. I want the child trafficking stopped. I want Trump to close down the MyLabs. Close down the MyLab bases. Stop the access. Go after the swamp creatures in the Pentagon, because that's where they're at. In fact, there's a MyLab underneath the Pentagon. I don't know how many stories down. MyLabs are always under the ground. They're at least, they can be anywhere from 3 to 20 miles underground. So it's a lot of security to get in them. No one's getting out. No kid. Once they're in there, they're not getting out. There's one under Indianapolis over in the business district. I heard it was under the airport. There's also one in the business district. In fact, I have all the locations written down somewhere. I might read that off maybe in tomorrow's show. Roswell, New Mexico. Did you know there's a CERN in Roswell? I didn't know that. Of course, I didn't know there was one in Texas either. There's more than one CERN. Maybe not as big and as size scope as the one in Switzerland. There's one in Chicago, in Roswell, in Texas. China has one. You know Russia has one. So these CERNs are probably everywhere all over the world. Opening portals. Opening portals. That's how they get access to you folks. You're wondering on how they get access to you while you're sleeping? They open a portal right into your house, right through your roof. I had some fun yesterday because they were blasting me with that satellite tech, and I didn't know how the heck they were doing that. And so typically what I just do is ask the Father to blow up the satellites. But I've caught on to the fact that they open up portals. And so I asked the Father to send creatures through the portals after them, up through the portals to wherever was opening them here. Oh, that's funny. He does. He sends creatures through them to attack them. Serves them right. Serves them right. If you can think it, the Father can do it. Folks, if you're under attack, you're being harassed, go straight to the Father. You're under attack by satellites, ask Him to blow them up. Whatever, if they're attacking you with computers. I remember one time there was this little punk at the Pentagon messing with my computer all day. I was trying to be on Facebook, and he was messing with my Facebook access. So I asked the Father to destroy his computer, blow it up. Next thing I see is this little 20-something guy jumping up out of his chair. Some kind of room of people with computers. That was funny. His computer's all sparking. His hard drive's going crazy. I'll do what you ask, folks. If you can think it, I'll do it. But you have to ask. You have to be proactive. So many people just want to curl up in a ball when you're under attack and do nothing. And you know what? That just lets them win. It just lets them. You might want to sit and pray for the enemies that are attacking you. I'm going to destroy them. You know, King David's my grandfather, and he didn't sit down and ask Goliath if he wanted to join him in prayer. He took stones, and he killed the beast. So let's get busy, folks. Let's fight back, huh? Quit being couch potatoes. Quit being whiners. If you're going to have a whine, at least have a comeback. I mean, I get attacked all the time, but I always have comebacks. They pay. They're going to pay. The Father doesn't keep us, He sustains us. Anyway, it's finally getting out of February. Because nothing ever happens in the winter months. People always get bored January, February, and December because it's winter. And winter doesn't fit in anybody's schedule for anything ever. It's spring, it's planting season, and it's fall, it's harvest season. Those are always the times of the year where most of things take place. So we have Passover coming up, April 10th, and we have March, which is the Satanist blood month. March is their war month. It's their huge, let's create blood and death month. So prepare, folks. Anyway, my shows are only 30 minutes now. I'll be back tomorrow at noon. Fat Lady's already singing. Be back tomorrow at noon, same time, same place, folks. God bless everybody.